Hello, everybody. My name is Hayden. This is my wonderful co-host,
Jeremy Lapidus.
and welcome to our inaugural episode of the JMU Sports Report. You know, classic triple threat show segment. Now its own thing.
Yeah, I'm very excited to do this. We've got a lot on our plate today. Do you just want to kick it right off for us, Hayden?
Yeah, no. So I kind of want to start off, keep it light, keep it chillaxed, and I wanted to talk about the Duke of the Week that we kind of discussed. I think personally, I think there are probably two Dukes of the Week. I don't know how you feel about that, but
I mean, there's a lot of people that you could go with, but I think there's a fairly obvious answer if we look at all the sports and we picked the one that really showed out in this past week.
yeah. You want to start with? I guess I don't know how we want to do this because this is again first show and all, so I'm not entirely sure how this segment's gonna play out. But do you want to do each have a Duke of the Week, or do you want to do agree on one?
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Okay.
I've got Isabella Peterson.
Yeah.
Obviously, she there's been four games into the season. She already has 17 goals.
Yeah.
That is
It's a little
insane.
Yeah.
And she was doing stuff like this last season, where she came up real close to the single season scoring record. I think she was like fifth or sixth. And if she can keep doing this, that team is going to be really hard to beat. The lacrosse team.
Yeah. I mean, that's just she's been so dominant so far this season. It's kind of hard to pick anyone else or anybody else. But I think there's at least one other Duke I wanted to highlight real quick, and that's Fenwick Trimble of the baseball team. Hit a walk-off grand slam today to sweep Cornell. So always gotta give snaps for that. Not quite Duke of the Week this week, but still deserves a mention just because a walk-off grand slam.
Pretty
You
cool.
don't see that too often. So deserves a little bit of praise, and he had a great series. And he had a really good freshman year last year. So excited to see what our Dukes can do next week and the weeks
Absolutely.
past that. And then you want to get to the meat and potatoes of the show, so to
Yeah.
speak. All right.
Yeah.
Let's
So
do
we've
it.
got the big story this week. The men's and women's basketball regular season has officially ended as of Friday. Both of them secured double byes based on their performance. So we're just going to preview the Sunbelt Basketball tournament and see how far we think they can get.
Yeah. So we have the bracket here. Super high tech, fancy stream show, high production value here. And then yeah, where do you want to start on this bracket, Jeremy? You want to start with the Dukes, or you want to kind of do an overarching thing?
Let's do an overarching thing real quick, Hayden.
Okay. Oh, did you want me to do the overarching thing?
Well, I can't see the bracket you pulled up, so.
Oh, you can't see the bracket I pulled up. Oh, here, let me quick fix that for you. Here. I'm telling you the best way to do that.
I have the brackets up. Which are we talking about, the men's or the women's first?
men's. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, wait here. Oh, there we go. We fixed it all. Beautiful. Fixed the stream. Saved it. Do you want to start with the men's?
Yeah.
You want to lead us through this bracket, Jeremy?
All right, so let's go through this real quick. So obviously, we're gonna the team that won the men's bracket is gonna be there's the four excuse me. There are four teams that got a double bye in this bracket. That being the Marshall, Louisiana, JMU, and Southern Miss. JMU is the third seed in this tournament. Marshall, 4 seed?
Yeah, Jamie's 4 seed for men's.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was looking at this the wrong way. 4 seed here. They're the 4 seed in this tournament. So they just barely got by on that on the double bye here. But first place is Southern Miss. They're the outright winner of the conference right now. 14-4 with Marshall and Louisiana in second, both of which, all three of those teams beat JMU earlier in this season. So they're going to be tough outs facing them later in the tournament. Looking at the rest of this tournament, there's a couple teams that could go on runs. Old Dominion has a solid team if they can get healthy. They can go on a run here, along with Georgia Southern, who has been a little bit of an issue for JMU in the past. Yeah, it's a bit of a overview for you.
Yeah, I mean, good thing for JMU. Georgia Southern's pretty much on the other end of the bracket. They're gonna, they're gonna start off against ULM and then play against Louisiana if they win that game. And then, like I said, on the other end of that bracket, I think the first round isn't super interesting. Coastal plays Arkansas State, Texas State plays Georgia State. Not to say they're bad teams, but they're not, I think there's a clear kind of jump as you progress, right? I think
Right.
as you get to that second tier, the line gets a little blurrier. Troy plays, can go on to potentially play against JMU. I think Troy's a really good team. ODU, like you mentioned earlier, can make a run. They go potentially play against Marshall if they win their game. So I think it could be a really exciting bracket. It'll be fun to watch over these next few weeks play out.
Yeah, and you mentioned Marshall. They beat JMU earlier this week. It was an absolute barn burner, especially in that first half. That's not a team that if I'm anyone in the Sunbelt that I'm excited to face.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thankfully, it's a quick series, or not a quick series. It's a quick tournament. First games are here on Tuesday. By the time you get to the semis, it's the week's over and it's next Sunday. So, we could be talking about these semifinal games next week on the Sports Report, and it could honestly go. There's really many, many different ways this tournament could play out and go. I don't think there's a single game that's kind of decided heading into it.
No. It's this conference all season has been tough. Like all the games. If you go through the conference schedule,
Mm-hmm.
very few of them have been more than 10 points, and if they are, it's one of those situations where the game is closer than it looks on the scoreboard. For the last month, I think there were 2 games that the JMU men played that weren't down to the wire or something like that. This whole conference is tough. Even when you get down to the bottom, it's still a tough conference. It's very physical here.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of just comes down to who gets hot and who's healthiest. If the team's not healthy and kind of the team's not hot, you don't really get a second chance in the tournament. So it's just kind of have to hope that your team gets hot when it comes, time to play. And if not, you're kind of out of luck.
Right, and there's no team right now that's really super hot. There's a couple teams. Old Dominion's got the longest win streak right now at 3 games. But there's not really any team looking at it right now that is coming in too incredibly hot. There was a little concern with South Alabama for the men. They went on a streak of 5 games where they before their last game of the season at Louisiana that they lost, but they're just coming off a 5-game win streak where they beat some really, really good teams. You know, they beat the Sunbelt champions, Southern Miss. They crushed them. They beat them by 30. That's a And then ULM, another pretty solid team. They beat by 40. Texas State, they beat by 9. Again, another really, really good team. This South Alabama team, it's more in the middle of the men's bracket, but they've been blowing their opponents out, and that's a team that I think we have to watch out for a little bit to make a run. If there is one underdog team,
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be South Alabama in this tournament.
I mean, you talk about them beating uh, Southern Miss, a few weeks ago. I mean, if they beat App State on Thursday night, they go on to play Southern Miss on Saturday.
Right, and that's going to be a good game. That was a super high scoring game last
Mm-hmm.
time, and both of these teams have a chance to explode at any time.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jeremy, this is the JMU Sports Report. So, I mean, we kind of have to talk about JMU. What does JMU need to be successful this tournament? I mean, you've watched them more than I have, so you'll be able to kind of answer that question better than I can.
They they're a very streaky team on offense. They will go on runs of 5 minutes of not scoring and runs of 10 minutes where they don't miss a basket. They need to just lock down on defense. Really, is what it's going to come down to. If they can play, If they can play good defense like they've been doing all season, they're up there in some of those defensive metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but if they can stay there and play some really good defense, I think that's when they'll have the chance. That's what's gonna keep them through in this tournament.
Yeah. Is there anyone specifically who you think kind of plays a bigger role in this tournament than maybe they could have or they have in recent weeks? Obviously, Terrence Edwards is going to be scoring a lot of buckets for the Dukes. Is there anyone else who they kind of need to step up?
Someone I'm looking at, he's had a really good season. Mezzi Offerum,
Mm-hmm.
he's had a really good season. He seems like a kind of X factor to me. Uh, JMU, they lost. They lost their. Excuse me. They lost against when they lost against Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Mezzi didn't have his greatest game. They need either him or Sule, their other big, to step up and really be a huge presence down low, because that's the one thing that they're missing. They've got a lot of really good guards. It's just uh, they don't have too many centers or forwards. It's really just Mezzi, Offerum, and Alonzo Sule. Uh, and we saw it in the Georgia State game where Sule stepped up. He had a really, really good game,
Yeah.
and that helped them win the final game of the regular season. But against Marshall, neither one of them really had a huge game. Mezzi didn't have any points. He got in foul trouble early and was out for a lot of the game. So it's going to be, he needs to step up. Not that he hasn't, but he needs to continue to play at a high level in this tournament in order for them to succeed.
Yeah. No, I mean I agree. I think him and Zule are integral to their success here in the tournament, just because when those two are going, it kind of is a domino effect where everything else kind of falls into place, and everyone plays well.
Right. This is a team that lives and dies with the three, and if they have the guy down low going, it really helps out with spacing.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any other thoughts here about the men's tournament?
No, I'm excited. Uh, Hopefully the Dukes can get hot and make a tourney run.
Yeah, I mean, I think something that we haven't really talked about, and that's kind of the depth of this team. Uh, they have a lot of people who can kind of come off the bench and score. There's a bunch of people who are always getting playing time, and I feel like that's not as common with some of these other teams and other programs in this tournament, and that's going to be huge for them, especially if they win, their first matchup. I mean, the next day they're playing another game. And, those teams where they might run 6, 7 people in a game, they're going to kind of get, burnt a little bit by that. And I think the Dukes, the roster is constructed to have a sort of run in the postseason like this.
Oh yeah, no, they're super deep. They go like almost a full lineup deep. I mean, you mentioned Terrence Edwards. He's leading the team in scoring. He doesn't start that often. Sometimes Tyree Iheanacho, he'll start, but sometimes he won't. And then you've got Votto Morse coming off the bench, or Takal Molson coming off the bench sometimes. They have a lot of guards that can come out off the bench and provide a spark on offense and defense.
Yeah, no, it'll be a really exciting tournament. Really excited to see how JMU does, obviously, because, kind of JMU fans, I would say. Yeah, I don't know if you have any other thoughts. We can move on to the women's bracket.
All right.
All right, here we go. Fun little trick where we just... Oh, wow, look at that. Okay, you're not watching the stream, so you didn't see how cool that was. It wasn't cool at all. But we now have the women's bracket here on the screen, and it's built the same exact way, so it makes talking about it a lot easier. You want to provide our overview again, Jeremy?
Absolutely, I do. So in this bracket, the JMU women actually got the number 1 seed. Now, because they lost their last game, they don't have the outright winners, but they do have a share of the number 1, and they have the tiebreaker over
Texas State.
Texas State and everybody else. If we are looking at the other parts of the other teams in the bracket that can come through and really be a big part, there's a couple teams at the end here. I'm getting a call. Hold on.
No,
I'll
you're
get
all
that
good.
later. All right.
Do you want me to take over?
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. No. So, I mean, as Jeremy was saying, it's a very deep bracket. I think there's a lot of teams in the Sunbelt that are really good. Because, it's college basketball. At the end of the day, no matter how much a team is favored, they could always lose the game. So it's just going to be an exciting tournament. It's kind of the same idea where, it's going to be a lot of back-to-back games. There's a little bit more of a break for them. Quarterfinals are on Friday. Semis are on Sunday. But then, as soon as you're at the semis, then you're going to the championship the next day. So, same concept where you're going to need that deep roster to kind of make a run. And, once again, JMU has a pretty deep roster. So, kind of poised for success. I don't know if you had any other ideas.
Looking at the back half of the bracket, teams that have to play another game or 2 more games, the James Madison women just lost to Marshall. And that would be their first game if they beat Coastal. Marshall does after their first bye. That's going to be an interesting game. We saw on senior night Friday, it came out a little. They didn't really come out with their best game against Marshall that they could have played, and they ended up losing. They lost their share. They lost their chance for not having like co-titleists, but that's going to be an interesting game if it gets there. We'll see if what adjustments will be made, especially after playing them so recently. If Marshall gets by Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of these games that they play, it's going to be interesting and fun. And it just so happens that a team that just recently beat them is right there, ready to kind of beat them again. Which a little unfortunate, but hey, you learn from your mistakes, you bounce back, and you win the game. That's all that matters, right, Jeremy?
Absolutely, that is all that matters.
Absolutely. And now I have, I'm going to ask you the same exact question. Because, again, you watch more basketball than I do, just because, you do. what does the women's team here need to win to make a deep run and to win? The Sun Belt.
Uh, it's what they need to do. They they just simply need to. Actually, this is a really good team. You have
Mm-hmm.
Kiki Jefferson, who is probably going to get drafted into the WNBA. That's incredible. She has an incredible career here. We just need to not make mistakes. Is really what it'll come down to. This team is good enough that it'll hit all its shots. Peyton McDaniel is a sharp shooter from deep. We've seen what she can do this season. Caroline Germain has one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the entire country. I think she's at 16 in the entire country, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just as long as they execute, I think they have a real shot of winning this tournament. We've seen them beat all the best teams in this league. We saw them beat Troy at home. It was a 1 point game, but we've seen them do it. We've uh, seen them beat Texas State, and these teams that they have success against. There's always a shot. I think this team, as long as they execute, stay out of foul trouble, has a real shot of going deep in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good roster. I mean some names that you haven't really mentioned. Uh, Kobe King Hawea is kind of like broken out the past 2 weeks, and it's just been incredible. And it's a delight to watch her play every single game. Uh, it's just again a really deep roster. There's a lot of people who can come off the bench and who are gonna play good minutes for this team, and I think that might be the difference maker for JMU.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have again, what it's really both of these teams. They have such incredible depth.
Yeah.
They have so much depth that some of these pieces that are really solid don't get a lot of time to shine. I mean, Claire Neff, she hasn't played a lot towards the end of the season. She was a big part in the last couple of years, coming off the bench. And similar with Steph Odenkirk, since King Awea has really stepped up, she's gotten less and less playing time, but we've seen her come out and hit some big shots in the past. Uh, and if we can have them come off the bench, it's incredible this depth that these teams have.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be an exciting tournament. Again, this one starts on Tuesday, so by the next sports report, we're heading into the championship game. So it's gonna be a fun week of basketball for the Sun Belt, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching it.
Absolutely.
Did you have any other thoughts, Mr. Jeremy?
No, I think we covered it all, unless I'm missing something from you, Aiden.
No, I just wanted to head into our our final little segment. Let's highlight some events going on. Talk about kind of what to watch this week. What is there a big series that obviously basketball is on the forefront of our minds, but is there any other games that could be interesting to watch or a series to watch, anything like that.
Yeah, the women's lacrosse team we talked about Isabella Peterson a little bit earlier in the show. You've got a couple big games coming up next week. They're playing Maryland and Ohio State, both at home. Uh, those are two huge programs. They've got solid lacrosse teams, but those will be fun games to go check out. Obviously, you mentioned the uh, basketball teams. They're going down to Pensacola, playing in the tournament. That's fun to watch. And lastly, baseball. That's the other big one. Baseball and softball. Uh, Baseball's playing George Washington on Tuesday. They're home basically all week.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, they're home all week.
Yep.
They'll be
And
playing
then
a
that
couple different
series
teams.
this weekend.
Yeah. Uh, so there's a lot of stuff to check out uh, here at for all the JMU sports.
Yeah, I think Is men's tennis? Oh no, men's tennis is on the road at Richmond, but that'll be, fun. Men's tennis is always pretty good. Tennis programs are sneaky good at JMU. But yeah, Jeremy, do you have anything else you want to? Any other thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns?
I think we're good. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the JMU Sports Report. I have been Jeremy Lapidus, joined as always by
Me, Hayden Raymer.
Thank you so much.
And,
We'll see you next week.
Have a good night.